Szanowni Państwo,
ladies and gentlemen,
mam ogromny zaszczyt powitać Państwa na
pleasure and honor for me to welcome you to the panel discussion about how space sector affects economy. It will be conducted in Polish. That's why for those of you who don't speak Polish, please use the simultaneous translation. We host the General Director of European Space Agency, Josef Aschbacher, Minister Kamila, Król, Undersecretary in the Ministry of Development and Technology, the President of BGK, and the Special Representative of Polish Government for Tri-C, President of Polish Space Agency. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen.
Zacznijmy może od pytania, które coraz częściej pojawia się i słyszymy w trakcie rozmów o kosmosie.
More and more often, why it is so important to invest in space sector? And this question will be asked, first of all, by Josef Aschbacher, the Director of Space Agency.
Can you hear? So why is it so important to invest in the space sector? So first of all, the space sector is growing globally very fast. We have today a space economy which is about 350 to 400 billion US dollars or euros worth. And if you put together all the various elements of the space industry, and we project, and I'm sure from the bank you have good visibility on these projections, we expect that this space economy will grow to about 1 trillion in the next decade. Of course, the projections always have a bit of variation, but it is certainly clear that the space economy at large will grow very fast and much faster than many other segments of the economy. So it's a growing opportunity. That's number one. Number two, Europe has to catch up. If I say to catch up, I mean catch up compared to the United States and to China and some other nations. But if I say to catch up, we are catching up from a very good position. Today, the expertise we have in Europe is among the best in the world. We have Earth observation programs, telecommunication programs, navigation programs, which best in the world, or among the best in the world, and that's something that is good to have, but at least to catch up from a good level. If I say catch up, because the investments which we are making in Europe are lower than those in America, for example. I take two figures for comparison. The budget of NASA and the US Space Force put together is about 5 to 6 times larger than the public funding in Europe. Still, despite the lower funding level, Europe is doing extremely well. So what I want to achieve, and Poland is a very important partner in this, is to have a significant increase of this space economy in Europe, thanks also to Poland and other countries, because there are so many opportunities to benefit from, and we can not afford to be among the top league and the top beneficiaries of these investments in space, which are coming and which will come very strongly in the near future.
Thank you very much, Pani Minister.
Minister, we were talking about the numbers. The Director General has mentioned some numbers and told us how the space sector is developing. But now, a direct question: how much money can you make when you invest in space sector? Can you comment on that? Yes, of course. Thank you so much for this question. And of course, moving back to the first general question, why should we invest in space? Why is it profitable? Well, it's because space sector is the future. It is very important, as the Director General has said it, to catch up with the leaders, with the power states that are the leaders, especially that we have a potential for development, and and Poland in Central and Eastern European is a leader in space sector. We have a huge potential. We have over 400 entities that are involved in space activity. These are enterprises, researchers. We have great engineers who, after 10 years of Poland's membership in the European Space Agency, highlighted our presence in the international market, and now it's time to popularize and promote the technology. Now it's time to develop innovations, new technologies, introduce new products on the market, and full products, not just elements of the products. And now, talking about the numbers, since 2014 until the first quarter of 2023, around 250 entities were completing contracts with the European Space Agency, and those projects covered 140 million euro. They accounted for 140 million euro. So now our subscription of 360 million euro in total is a huge jump. It's a big step. And right now we are the 8th payer in ESA, and I hope that from Council of Ministers to Council on Ministers, the situation will be improving, and we will be one of the leaders. And I hope that the data and the numbers will be higher in the coming years. Well, this sounds very optimistic. Now let's take a more general look. We've heard that this is a very promising economy domain. I have a question for President Daszyńska-Musyczka.
Firmy mają szansę na rozwój w tym
Does Poland and Polish companies have a chance to develop in this very competitive area? Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for inviting me to this panel. And I'll put it this way. This is a huge opportunity for Polish companies. If you allow me, I'd like to start with something else. Let's imagine what exactly is space. Not the space when we lie down on the grass and look at the stars, but how did we start the journey into the space as humanity? Well, in 1903, we had a first flight of a plane. It lasted 13 seconds, and this is when people touched the wings and we started to fly. Right now, nobody can imagine traveling around the world without planes. During the First World War, we were using planes. During the Second World War, the planes were more advanced. The war ended in 1945, and in 1969, a man stepped on the moon. And you probably have seen Apollo 13 movie and know how it was, and the whole technology was smaller than a cell phone that we use right now, and the research, the acceleration of the technology research development proves that it doesn't seem to be working correctly.
Teraz słychać? No nic, no wezmę na zapas.
I probably need a backup. So, ladies and gentlemen, well, the research that is conducted not just in space, but also here on Earth, prepare every journey to space, and new technologies, material, electronic, technological technologies. It's not just, these are not the things that we develop in space, exactly, but we help to
Dlatego
develop
rozwój,
technologies
inwestycje w
and
technologie kosmiczne
make life
to
on
nie
Earth
tylko i to, co
easier.
poleci w
Therefore,
kosmos
the
i nie wyląduje na
investment
stacji
in
albo
space and space
kosmicznej
technologies is
międzynarodowej,
not just
albo na
about
Księżycu,
what
czy
will
jak
be shipped
myślimy o
and
podboju
launched into the
też
space or
Marsa,
the space
tylko to, jak
station
te
or
technologie
Mars
ułatwiają
missions.
nasze codzienne
But it's
życie
about
już
how
dzisiaj.
those technologies help us to
liczby.
live
Najpierw
everyday
daty,
life.
teraz
Now
liczby.
numbers.
1%, szanowni
So
państwo, PKB
1% of
zainwestowane
GDP invested
w infrastrukturę,
in
taką, którą powszechnie
infrastructure
znamy.
that we
Drogi,
know,
koleje, energetyka.
roads, rail,
Tworzy
roads, energy,
w średnio długim okresie przyrost PKB o 2,5%.
of GDP by
1%
2,
PKB zainwestowanych w badania i rozwój w średnio długim okresie tworzy przyrost PKB o 5, nawet 6%. 1% PKB zainwestowanych w technologię właśnie sektora i branży kosmicznej to przyrost PKB w średnio długim okresie o 10, nawet 12%. Ciężko sobie wyobrazić lepszą inwestycję dzisiaj,
So
tak?
it's hard to imagine a better
I możemy
investment
tutaj
today.
mówić, że inflacja, nie
So
inflacja.
we
Ja
may
mówię o
be
długim
saying,
okresie.
talking about
I to są
inflation, I'm
tylko
talking
liczby.
about the long run,
Natomiast,
and
szanowni
these are
państwo,
just the
ilość
numbers, but ladies and
kapitału
gentlemen, the
intelektualnego,
amount
dzięki którym
of
inwestycjom w te
human
technologie
capital
możemy mieć właśnie
that
w
we
naszym kraju
can
i jak
have in our
rozwijać ten
country with the
kapitał
help of those
intelektualny,
investments
jak
and how
tworzyć
to actually
zainteresowanie
develop this
młodych ludzi.
intellectual
Ja wiem, że ono
capital, how
dzisiaj
to
jest,
create the interest of
ale
young
czemu ono
people.
służy,
I
jak
know that we
pozyskać
have
jeszcze
it
więcej
right
młodych
now,
ludzi,
but
żeby
how
inwestować
to
właśnie w
reach
wiedzę
out
i
to
rozwój
even
własny,
more young
korzystając z
people
tego, jak
and
rozwijamy program
promote
kosmiczny,
investment
jak
in
być
their
częścią tych programów, to ogromny wpływ na
progress and how to
gospodarkę.
become
Dzisiaj, tak
part
jak
of those
pani,
programs that
pani
affect
minister
the
powiedziała,
economy. Well,
około
this is the
400
question.
firm, w zeszłym roku to było
Today we
łącznie
are
około
talking about
140 milionów euro. To, co
companies
pan
last year,
dyrektor
it was
Aschbacher powiedział,
140 million euro,
łączna
as
wartość w
Director Aschbacher has said. The
2022 to
total
ponad
value in
400
2020
miliardów dolarów, do
over 400
2040
billion US dollars,
1,1 biliona dolarów, czyli trylionów amerykańskich. Więc to jest, szanowni państwo, ogromna przestrzeń do inwestycji. A bank jest po to, żeby wszystkim firmom, które się tylko zdecydują, żeby w tej branży uczestniczyć, pomagać rozwiązaniami. I szanowni państwo, jak widzą państwo, jak to jest skomplikowane, to nie jest kredyt konsumpcyjny, który po prostu będzie wywieszony i można przyjść i wziąć kredyt jak spółki. To są bardziej zaawansowane i do każdego projektu, z którym przyjdą przedsiębiorcy, będziemy dobierać indywidualne rozwiązania finansowe.
We will find individual financial solutions for every individual project, and this is what we do in our bank, Development Bank. Thank you very much.
Mam teraz pytanie do pana.
And now I have a question for the president of Polish Space Agency. Here we are talking about economy in general. Would you like to comment on which areas of economy can or are developing most fast? The most. Well, I could actually answer if my mic is working. So let me. All areas of economy can benefit. If today somebody asks us which are the areas of economy where we use the IT technology, well, this is a stupid question. Everywhere IT is used. In a few years, the same will be with the question about space technologies. Soon there will be no area that will not be using space technologies, and I am not talking just about the technologies for the need of exploration missions, so the first Apollo mission or faraway planets missions, but I am talking about satellites that are orbiting around Earth, and they provide us with images, navigation, and so on. Today it affects many areas of economy. So today we have areas that benefit and those that contribute. Today probably agriculture is benefiting the most because farmers sign contracts with companies that deliver satellite data. And with this data, they will be able to know that somewhere at the very far end of their field there is an insect, for instance, a pest, and they can do something, and they know how to act when there was a flood or a drought and how to do it. Or maybe they won't be able to receive EU payments if the European Commission fails to confirm their satellite images.
So agriculture is the first area, but it would be hard to imagine a modern spatial economy without satellite pictures. The sea, this is another area. We are talking about navigation, we are talking about transport, about forecasting weather, about water, seawater as such. Unfortunately, I cannot hear the TV program. And also the TV program, for example, sports. So I could make a long list, but I will stop here. And what about those that contribute, the areas that contribute? Because today the space industry as a whole is developing at the pace of 4 to 5% per year, and the technologies that contribute to the space industry develop at the pace of 20% per year. We are talking here about electronic IT technologies, including the AI and more frequently even biologic and medical technologies. And this answers the question that was asked of a Director General, whether it's worth investing in space as such. And I could tell you why Poland needs to invest in space. So we could say, okay, cool, we have the new technologies, let the Americans develop them and we'll use them. It doesn't work this way, ladies and gentlemen, because we are facing this choice. Either we are the observers, either we are watching other countries develop these technologies, or we want to become competitive. We want our sectors to become competitive, and for the sectors to be competitive, we would have to buy the technologies, paying a lot. Or we could invest, and then our companies can develop products that satisfy the needs of our country, and then we can sell them. Unfortunately, the translator cannot hear the speaker again. Sorry about that. So this is really impressive. And if you are talking about Poland, let's move on to the point of view of Polish entrepreneurs. So over to the president of the Association of the Space Sector Employers. Could you please tell us more about the specialization of Polish space entities, and can we be proud of the technologies that have been developed? Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I've heard that mic number 4 is working. Let's see about that. Of course, we should be proud. We should be proud, particularly with the accomplishments that we could watch over the last 10 years. Since Poland joined the ESA. Paradoxically, it would be easier to answer this question 10 or 15 years ago, because 1 or 2 minutes would be enough. But actually, after these 10 years, there are so many specializations, and I suggest we look at this from the side of the client. And the client for the space sector companies, you are our client, ladies and gentlemen. The society is our client, the administration and space agencies. All the potential clients can find a range of products and services in Poland that after the 10 years are being delivered at the world level, which is reflected in the network of, in the number of contracts delivered by the Polish companies and the number of entities operating in the space sector, Polish entities working on contracts for the ESA. So
these potential clients can find excellent services based on satellite data. In Poland, I mean satellite imaging, satellite connectivity. There are companies that specialize in providing services to business clients, individual clients, or the administration. We also have excellent companies which provide electronic components to many missions of the ESA, but not only. There are also companies that develop software. It was mentioned already that software constitutes and will constitute a bigger and bigger component of all the space missions. In Poland, we have a range of companies that specialize in this, and actually 10 years ago, it was one of the arguments why we should join the ESA, and an element in discussion whether Polish entities can compete there. And we had an excellent basis as regards IT solutions, an excellent foundation as regards our capacity in the area of providing specialist apparatus or subsystems for the missions of the ESA. So, a range of specializations of the Polish space sector. Among those over 200 entities delivering contracts to ESA, we can find those delivering software, the so-called flight software, the software for processing satellite data. There are also entities that are European leaders for the processing of satellite data. There are entities that provide the electronic components or specialist scientific instruments to many missions of the ESA. So, to sum up, is it worth investing in the Polish space sector? Yes. Oh yes, it's worth it, but in the association, there are companies in 2012 employed 5 or 6 people, and now they employ over 200 new specialists operating in the space sector. Specialists who in Poland gained their knowledge, who are implementing projects with the ESA. So it's definitely worthwhile to be consistent, and once you are in the space sector, unfortunately, I cannot hear this question. So there are also many challenges, and the next question goes to Director General, Mr. Aschbacher.
So, Mr. Aschbacher, what are the opportunities, but also challenges regarding to the Polish increased involvement in ESA activities? And also, just to follow up this one, is it better to invest and build something that is national, or is it better to be a part of a bigger European market?
Okay, that's a long series of questions. I go one by one. So what are the challenges? First of all, let's start with the opportunities. So what this really brings to Poland is really entering a new league, a new set of opportunities. We have heard some of the examples where the industry in Poland is extremely good. And I have seen this from the view of the European Space Agency in several countries who have been increasing their investments and how they build up capabilities. And I could name a few, but all of them have really benefited enormously because the space sector is a sector where you get a good multiplier of the investments that are made. And we have done socioeconomic studies. If you invest €1 into space, you get on average 3 to 5 euros back into the economy. Of course, directly through contracts into the country, because we have a guaranteed return. If Poland puts 100 into ESA, we give 100 back to Poland, minus, of course, the cost of running ESA. But we have this geographic return principle. That means you are guaranteed that the money goes back to Poland. It's already a good starting point. But in many sectors, €1 invested develops new services and new opportunities, either through export or new service contracts that are being developed. You mentioned agriculture is a very good example. If you use Copernicus data, for example, and you invest in the Copernicus infrastructure, there are many companies who are using these data to provide agricultural estimates of crop production, They are used for precision farming, and there's more value added through these investments. And actually in Copernicus, this multiplier is even higher, up to about 10. So €1 invested brings 10 euro back into the economy. Also, fresh money comes in through venture capital companies, through banks, funding opportunities. And of course, and this is the ultimate goal of any country, once you build up a capability, you can export to other countries either outside Poland or outside Europe. And this, of course, is very attractive. Space is a very fast-growing sector. And there will be many of these opportunities building up, and I think these are really the opportunities for Poland to invest in this very strongly and very significantly. Maybe one point which is worth saying, and we have today spoken a lot about astronauts and the flight to the space station. Of course, this is the inspirational part and the moment that is the glamorous element when an astronaut goes into a space station and is working there. By the way, they are doing a lot of experiments and very hard work. They have a long working day and a very intense stay up there. But also the technology which we are developing through space exploration or other space programs is used down on Earth on many applications. You have mentioned some of them for agriculture, for forestry, for disaster management, for security. Security, of course, in this country in particular is an extremely important aspect, defending or helping to defend the continent of Europe, literally. And space, of course, is an integral way of building up the security requirements. So there's a lot of opportunities, and I think a lot of very positive ones. What are the challenges? The challenges really are, on one side, to make sure that these investments are done in a way that they are sustainable. They should not be a one-off investment. And this is something that I'm very keen, also from the side of ESA, to make sure that we build up companies that are staying here, that are building up capability, that are hiring people, that are creating value to the economy, so that this is really sustainable and long-term. And this is a very important aspect, that this is not a one-off event, but really something that stays over time. But I'm pretty confident, and I'm looking here at the State Secretary, that Poland has done all its necessary means to have a long-term strategy for space, for long-term investments, because this is really crucial in order to really have this increase sustainable and stay there. I think there's really just so much to gain. Of course, what is also important for a country like Poland, Poland has a very high level of skilled experts in engineering, in IT, in the service community. You have a very high level of education, a very good academic sector, but you want your people to stay in Poland or stay in Europe, and you don't want them to go away into Silicon Valley or some other places. Maybe if they go, they should certainly come back again with a lot of experience. So you want to attract them with interesting projects and interesting activities. And this is something where, of course, ESA is helping, because we use this Polish funding, put them together with other funds of other member states, and create large-scale, very fascinating European projects. We build rockets, we build satellites that go into outer space, that observe the Earth, that are used for telecommunication, navigation, and many other things. So there, your investment is significant, but still is one element of a large European investment. And you were asking, is it better invested in Europe or nationally? Of course, as the Director General of the European Space Agency, there's one clear answer of what a good investment is. But I really mean it, because this investment of Poland in a European program helps you, first of all, to participate in huge programs worth billions of euros with a contribution which, of course, is much smaller. But also, you are getting many business networks and partnerships with other companies, and they will buy in Poland infrastructure, equipment, technologies, and so on. So really, it's very clear and very, very important that this is a strong investment at the European level for the benefit of Poland itself.
Yeah, thank you very much for the answering that question. I tutaj pan dyrektor zwrócił uwagę na to, że warto inwestować.
Director has emphasized that it is worth to invest in the European space sector. So I have a question for Madam Minister. Why space sector affects global economy so much. Are you participating? Have you been participating in this process of increasing the subscription? Have you followed the example of any other countries? Can you comment on that? Thank you very much. First of all, I wanted to say that I fully agree with the Director General. It's important to build the competitiveness. We need to be competitive on international market. Well, as a country, we know that we cannot do it alone, but as a member of the European Space Agency, we can do that. Therefore, the decision to invest additional money in the activity and cooperation with the European Space Agency, which we treat as a mentor, as a coach, as a guide that leads us through the paths which we don't always know. And this is how we base our strong and stronger activity. Now, answering your question, why space sector influences the global economy so greatly? Because we come across space technologies or solutions on everyday basis. Each of us is using a pan at home, and it's covered with Teflon, and this is a space solution. It is connected with the space technologies. I'm sure that some of us are using the water filters. We all use broadband. We all use the headsets, and today we are using the live broadcast, which makes everything easier, and this is what is offered to us by space technologies now. Cameras in smartphones, video services, well, they all have been offered to us by the space-related solutions. And now holidays by the sea. When we come back from the holidays, we often buy smoked fish, and they are often packed in a special way. Vacuum packing is used, and this is also made by the space technologies. Well, firemen, well, their clothes that are resistant to fire are made of the fabrics that were tested by the astronauts. Foils used by emergency services or after marathon running, the foil that is used, well, it is also the fruit of space technologies. There are so many examples that I could go on listing, but the space solutions, space technologies, products that are connected with space are all around us. We are not always aware of that, but nevertheless, this is the situation. But with all those activities, with the impulse, development impulse, with the preparation of new technologies, with the production of innovations, we still have to remember about educating the society. This is extremely important to make sure that the society is aware that it's not just about exploring space, but also about the elements or projects that can be submitted to the Ministry of Technology and Development, which may be tested by our astronaut in the space. This is an important element. So, indeed, this is a multidimensional subject, just as our cooperation with the European Space Agency. It's not just about money and contracts for individual projects, but it also means cooperation with other countries, exchange of information, challenges, exchange of successes, but also failures, which helps us to avoid the errors in the future. Also, the structure of the European Space Agency is very well prepared and available to the beneficiaries of different projects. So, there are many aspects to this topic. It's worth to invest in space. Space is the future, and I think that our increased subscription is not just about opening a little gate for faster development. It means opening a huge gate to the future. I have a question for the President, for the CEO. You have mentioned very briefly about the role of the bank in supporting in general Polish space sector. Can you tell us more about that? How the bank is supporting our space sector? Well, our bank, as the Polish Development Bank, has the offer for SMEs, for startups, through European programs to Polish companies that used this opportunity in the past perspective, and their technologies were used in Martian rover. So we support those technologies. So I believe that this is a very small example, because having so many enterprises and such a huge program with European Space Agency, we need to be ready to do more. So we are open to talk to the enterprises that will be up to the tasks that are ordered or provided by ESA, and we are ready to approach every project individually, because often this is not just a simple loan. Often we have to sit down and think about very advanced financial structure. It also requires capital investment, including the debt financing, because later on the European Space Agency must accept the project. So first the company must invest in the development of this technology. But let me relate to the fact that this is not just a chance for our country, but let's look more generally to the Tri-Sea region, because we are talking we can talk not just about Tri-Sea region, we can talk about the Tri-Space region. We can use the huge intellectual potential from other countries. I agree with Director Aschbacher. We have many well-educated, talented people with open minds and a passion, because we also need a passion to develop those technologies. In addition to that, as a bank, it's not just the Tri-Sea that may be a huge opportunity to open 220 million people who live here in this region. But it's also important to remember about 3W initiative created by our bank as a place and a hub for cooperation between science, business and public sector. 3W. Let me tell you what it means. This name starts to be recognizable: water, hydrogen and carbon. Carbon as new technologies, carbon technologies that will be used by many solutions in space industry, and hydrogen. Now we are talking about when we will have the first hydrogen car, and in the 1950s or 60s hydrogen was used as a perfect fuel for spaceships. We are developing electrolyzers for hydrogen. These are the technologies that were produced by the Space Agency. That's why I believe that not just instruments, because financial solutions, ladies and gentlemen, is about how much money and how fast you can get. So money is not just it's not a solution. The more we talk about it, the more solutions we can find, because the technologies and what we can achieve with those technologies, how we can apply the support for the companies with passions, because financial solutions can be found, which actually is proven by the fact that Poland decided to increase its subscription to 360 million euro. Yes, it seems that the microphone is stopping from time to time.
To nie tylko pani prezes odcina głos.
Not just you, Madam President, so most of us.
Nie mogę nie zadać tego pytania jako astronomka. I to pytanie skieruję do pana prezesa Wrochny. Chciałabym zadać pytanie o misje naukowe, bo mówimy dużo o gospodarce, o przemyśle kosmicznym. Co z tymi misjami naukowymi? Czy one tylko zaspokajają naszą ciekawość, czy także dają nam jakieś wymierne korzyści, jak na przykład Polska zaangażowała się dość mocno w misję Europejskiej Agencji Kosmicznej
became involved in the JUICE mission, for example. Could you please comment on that? Certainly, but first, I will try to refer to the question whether it's better investing in national or European programs. I think, thanks to the wise rules of the ESA, there is no such dilemma, because the best way to implement a national program is implementing them through ESA, because we have the geographical return rule, which says that the money returns. Plus, we decide what programs ESA will implement. Every 4 years, the ministers meet in Paris in the autumn. Madam Minister went to Paris to take part in the decision-making process, how to spend the money and which programs to support. I had the pleasure to accompany Madam Minister on that visit, and so I could see how it worked. So there is no dilemma. Okay, so the JUICE mission, the science missions. The first answer is that for the purposes of these missions, we are developing all the technologies that we mentioned. Someone might ask, well, do we have to go to space to invent Teflon? Do we have to go to space to invent Velcros? We have to. This is the answer. And let me explain this. I will give you an example. In Polish hospitals during the pandemic, we were very much helped by the air filters that were developed for the International Space Station. Let's imagine that such filters are ordered by the Ministry of Health in a tender. A small company offers the cheapest solution, wins the tender. It imports something from China, like some components, a fan, a bit of a bandage, and makes a filter. But when we talk about filters for the International Space Station, like the most advanced companies with best technologies and best people address this, because this is something for the International Space Station. As a result, a product is developed of a completely different class, which we can then safely use in places like Polish hospitals. That's how it works. We need the space motivation. And this space motivation is the second answer to the question, why do we need space missions? JUICE, the JUICE mission. In the past, we thought that maybe we should look for life on planets like Venus or Mars, not Jupiter, the planets where the conditions are as close as possible to those of Earth, so Venus or maybe Mars, but not Jupiter. But it turns out that the moons of Jupiter have oceans bigger than on Earth, only covered with thick ice. However, there are hot geysers there, like on Earth, so maybe life was born on Earth in the geyser, so why not on Jupiter? So the JUICE mission is a mission that is to prepare the future research to look for the beginnings of life in these areas. And this is something that attracts young people, not just young people, something that provides motivation, something that is fascinating from an early age on, because if there is no element of fascination, people will do other things, prosaic things. But if they have this motivation, this certainly is going to result in amazing discoveries. This is in our genes, like navigare necesse est, like sailing is necessary. It's important, you know, to sail, to conquer new lands. This is the second reason why the missions are so important. Thank you.
I troszeczkę już mówiliśmy o życiu pozaziemskim, trochę o takiej przyszłości, ale mamy nadzieję niedalekiej. I o tę przyszłość chciałam zapytać pana prezesa pracodawców sektora kosmicznego. Panie prezesie, mówił pan trochę o przeszłości, o tym, co jest teraz. A co może czekać sektor kosmiczny, polski sektor kosmiczny za 10 lat?
In 10 years, we are past the 10th anniversary of Polish membership in the ESA. So what about the next 10 years? What's going to happen? That's another tricky question that I will try to answer. Well, from the point of view of the entrepreneur or a research institute, I would like us to discuss about still increased contribution to ESA. I'd like us in 10 years to discuss the Polish enterprises that are very much present in the programs of the ESA and programs of the European Commission, because that's the future. The European Commission, the European Union, and the ESA in the future will be cooperating more and more strongly for the space sector. So I hope that in 10 years Polish entities will be excellently positioned in all the flagship projects of the ESA and of the European Union, but this carries certain benefits, but also certain consequences. The consequence being that it would be good if in 10 years Polish entities could take informed responsibility for smaller missions, for subsystems at some missions, and this is the responsibility that is really huge, and not just investment, like we said here, but this awareness that a certain project that we can deliver this project, we can deliver it like from scratch to its completion. And of course, it would be good if in 10 years a certain good cooperation framework was established between Polish entities and other entities under the programs of the ESA and of the European Union. It was mentioned before, but I will mention this again, that for the entrepreneur, especially like 10 years ago, the first contract with ESA, more contracts with ESA in more difficult tenders of the European Commission or different agencies, then even more contracts outside the borders of the European Union. And in 10 years, it would be good if Polish entities could export technology, like space technology, outside the European Union, because this is the goal of every member state, and this is the goal of ESA as the organization. Thank you. Thank you. In 10 years, today's students, today's pupils will be the leaders on the markets of space technologies. And the last question, a summary question, but also maybe an inspirational question, an open question. So I'm not pointing any people here, and I'm not pointing to anybody to answer. This is a question about what the increase of the Polish subscription to ESA gives a young person. What is the benefit of this increase to a young person?
I mean, what is the benefit? And I think there's a lot of benefits that one can imagine. First of all, I would like to see more young Polish people working in ESA. We are hiring a lot of people this year and the next year and the year after, and I think there are opportunities coming, but not to take them away from Poland, but to be in ESA, come back and maybe build a company and grow the business here in Poland. But I very much like what you said before of the aim of Polish industry to really become a senior partner, a senior project leader, meaning that I would certainly work on that, and I can promise that we will achieve that, provided, of course, on your side the investments are sustained, that Polish industry will be a prime contractor in future satellite missions or future missions. And this is something that I think gives you pride, because that will be a Polish-led company. By the way, most of the satellites have 20, 30, sometimes 50 companies involved. And I certainly can see that the Polish industry, after a couple of years of building up capabilities, can be a leader of such a satellite program. And I think this is something that you should certainly aim for, and we can help you making this possible, making this happen. And as you said correctly, ESA is your space agency. We are your space agency. You make the decisions. The minister decides where to put the money, whether in this project or another one, because you have to match it with your expertise you have back home. You decide on the projects, because we have a very strong governance where the member states really tell me as Director General what to do, which projects to fund, where the emphasis is. So you are in the driver's seat, collectively, of course, with all the other member states. And literally, we are your space agency with a very strong influence, which you have there. And I think coming back to the point where Polish young people will be in 10 years, I think the opportunities are wide. There are many different options in either in industry or in academia and science and research to work on the exploration of the universe. So you mentioned Jews. There's Euclid as another example. Nobel Prize winners will be made based on the satellites on the missions which we are launching into outer space. So there's really a lot of opportunities. And as I said, ESA is here to help you realizing the dreams that you may have or the wishes you may have. This is really our job as a space development agency, to help countries to grow and implement its strategic vision.
I would like to say, what does that mean to new generation? A motivation to do something great, to do something that will be shipped into the space. I can actually work on technologies that will actually change our lives in the future. Motivation, let me add curiosity and interest, because engineers are creating the world and change the world. And we, of course, we need many people who study humanities, but the engineering, advanced engineering is something that translates into our functioning and creation of added value. That's why I believe that this program, just as Apollo program, just as our previous astronaut, General Hermaszewski, we know how many young people at that time were interested in aerospace, space, and they were searching for their paths through those areas, how to develop, how to find something that is interesting to them. And
ja jestem przykładem tego.
I am an example
Dlatego,
of that.
że moja średnia szkoła to jest też szkoła lotnicza. Moje wykształcenie średnie to jest mechanika sprzętu lotniczego. Kiedyś miałam okazję się spotkać z panem generałem Hermaszewskim i rozmawialiśmy o tym, że ja w tą szkołę właśnie tutaj w Polsce skończyłam. On do mnie mówi, to niemożliwe, to jest ta szkoła, do której ja 3 razy próbowałem się dostać i się nigdy nie dostałem. Ja mówię, tylko panie generale, pan był w kosmosie, ja nie i chyba już nie będę.
I said, General, you went into the space and I will never do that most probably. Let me add now the possibility to become part of the history, because we have many young people who have open minds, they have great ideas, many ideas. We have young engineers that we have right now, and they create really great things, but we don't exactly know whether those products or solutions that they come up with will be applicable in the everyday lives. But by cooperating with the European Space Agency or by acting in the space sector, I had the opportunity to meet many people from space industry, and I can say that these are great people with huge knowledge, expertise. You can talk to them about anything, and the way they share the knowledge. So a person who knows nothing about space, how it works, what are the solutions, what are the technologies that are created or produced with the help of space, well, it's a pleasure to listen to them when they talk about it. So I think that becoming part of history may be an additional bonus in the future years. Well, let me add something. I'll be again speaking the enterprise language. For young people, the investment in the space industry that is happening right now and in the future gives new offer. 10 years ago, you really couldn't work in a Polish space industry, and right now you can. So young people who start university, after they graduate, they will have a choice where to work. Maybe they will choose processing industry, maybe aviation, maybe banking. And right now, I hope that they will be able to say, I choose space industry in the European Space Agency or Polish Space Agency. But we really want to see them back in Poland and working in the Polish space industry, because from the point of view of entrepreneurs, so the increased investment in space industry offers us more engineers want to work in this industry, and this is a huge hope for us that once in 2, 3 or 5 years this product or software that was created by them will be sent to another planet or will be used by satellites that orbit Earth. Thank you very much, and I think that this marks the end of today's debate. Thank you so much for being so active today. I would like to thank all panelists, all guests, the audience, and those of you who follow us online. And we would like to send some greetings to you as well. And we hope that the space industry that is developing so fast, we hope that it will be developing at a space pace, and our subscription will return to us. Thank you so much.